Hey everybody, it's Lucero and today I'm back with another drugstore beauty battle. Today we're comparing BB creams, or beauty bombs as they are also called. They mix together your average tinted moisturizer with your daily moisturizer to provide both coverage and other benefits that are usually just limited to your daily creams and lotions. They can replace your daily moisturizer in the morning unless your moisturizer does something very specific, such as in my case, I have to use very hydrating moisturizers. So what I do is I use my regular moisturizer and then use a BB cream. Or if your moisturizer contains like salicylic acid or benzoyl peroxide to fight acne, you will have to use that separately because most beauty bombs don't come with those already in them. So today I'm comparing 4 drugstore beauty bombs, and the scale that I'm using includes 4 different categories, which are color, coverage, texture, and longevity. So I'm going to go in reverse order from worst to least. Now, each category can score a maximum of 2 points for an overall total of 8. So the one that ranked 4th place is the L'Oreal Magic Skin Beautifier BB Cream in medium, which is the color that I used, and it only got 3 points. Now, I know that for a lot of people, stuff like BB creams and foundations and tinted moisturizer, it is a very personal experience because your skin is, everybody's skin is different. However, I honestly don't think I can recommend this for anybody, no matter what your skin type is. For color, it did score 2 points. It comes out white and then changes to your actual skin tone, which I think is very cool, and it really helps match your skin. For coverage, it didn't get any points because it really didn't do much for me. I applied a layer just like I did with all of my other creams, and I still had lots of redness showing through. Any like actual very problematic blemishes were not dealt with at all. It didn't do anything for my under eye circles, and I could see it starting to match my skin as I slowly blended in, and then it just blended away and I was left with nothing. The texture as well was atrocious. It's very heavy feeling, which is surprising because it has such a light coverage. It didn't feel like it actually ever dried, and I always felt tacky throughout the day. I could pat my skin and still feel the stickiness from when I applied it, and that's not something that I enjoy, and I don't think anybody else would enjoy in a tinted moisturizer, BB cream, or other sort of face product. For longevity, it got 1 point because from what I could see that was, included in the coverage, it did kind of last about half the day, but then I was left with splotchiness after about 5 or 6 hours, where it would just kind of clump together. Like I would have little clumps of color all over my face, and it was a very odd experience, and to be honest, I can't recommend this for anybody. Next up, in 3rd place, we have the CoverGirl BB Cream, and it scored a total of 5 points. In the color category, it scored 1 point. One of the problems that I have with BB creams and very, general products is that they have a very limited range of colors. It's either light, medium, or dark, or light to medium, medium fair, whatever. And a problem that I have is that I'm too light for medium dark, but also too dark for medium light. And I found that a lot of the other 2 better scoring products did blend a little bit better, even if initially they didn't really match my skin very well. But this one, it kind of went on with a slight grayish tone, which really prevented it from blending as best that it could. For coverage, it got 1 point. It did do a fair job of covering some of the redness and some of the under eye circles, but I did find that to feel more comfortable with the coverage, I did have to go back in with a concealer, even on areas that my usual tinted moisturizer or foundation would naturally cover up very easily. For texture, it did score 2 points, which was the max for that category, and I was very happy with the way that it felt, especially throughout the day. It was a very light feeling, unlike the L'Oreal BB cream, and it did dry a little bit more matte, so that was very comfortable for me because I hate feeling sticky throughout the day. And for longevity, it scored 1 point. I could see it wearing off at about 5 or 6 hours, just like the L'Oreal BB cream. But I did find that it wasn't as bad as that, and it's something that I could have fixed with another application or some more powder or something like that, but it definitely could have lasted like a full school day or full work day. But overall, it gets 5 points and ranks 3rd place. Next up, in 2nd place and scoring 7 points, we have the Maybelline Dream Fresh BB Cream. For color, this scored 2 points because it matched very well, and like all the other ones, it didn't go on perfectly initially, but I found that if I blended it well, it was a very seamless color, and I was very pleased with that. The coverage was also very good, not as heavy or high coverage as your average foundation. So I did, for very specific blemishes, I did have to go in with a little bit of concealer, like on my chin or nose or whatever. And on days when I didn't get enough sleep, I would use a little bit of brightening concealer under my eyes. There's just some things that your average beauty balm really can't cover. But it did have very good coverage, and it did cover very general red areas and splotchiness that I tend to have on my face. For texture, this scored also 2 points. It felt really good. It felt like very hydrating, which was different than the CoverGirl BB cream, which felt more matte. And so this one I could foresee for somebody who has oily skin. If you don't use powder normally, you might want to try this with some powder, and that will help take away any oiliness or shine that I can foresee popping up with this product. But overall, it isn't overly oily. It's just very hydrating and resembles more of a moisturizer rather than a foundation. Longevity was also just 1 point, and like the 3rd and 4th place BB creams, it tended to wear off at around 5 or 6 hours, and then if I wanted to keep up the coverage, I'd have to go in with some powder or go in with some extra concealer that I tend to carry around with me anyways. So it could last a little bit longer, but overall I really enjoyed this one, and I think it performed very well. So scoring a total of 8 out of possible 8 points, and placing first is the Rimmel London BB cream. I really enjoyed this one, and I highly recommend it for anybody, any sort of skin tone. The color obviously gets a 2. It blended very well, even though initially I was kind of surprised. It was a little bit lighter than I expected, and I didn't think while I was applying it that it would blend as well as it did. So even though it's about 2 shades initially too light for my skin tone, with some proper blending and a little bit of patience, it actually blends really well and is very seamless, and I was extremely pleased with that. The coverage also gets 2. It did cover off most of the redness, most of the darkness under my eyes, and left me with an overall very even color on my face. As I said, I did have to go in with a separate concealer for individual blemishes and under eye circles, but that is something that I foresaw prior to doing this experiment, and it doesn't bother me. The texture, it gets a 2. It is a more matte finish, which is great because I feel like this is a product that you really don't need a powder to accompany it, especially if your skin is dry or normal. If you're oily skin, you're probably used to already using powder, and for me that isn't a problem anyways. I don't mind setting all of my face products with powder. But it did leave a very matte and very clean feeling, which is very different from the experience I had with the L'Oreal BB cream, where I just felt sticky and a little bit dirty all the time. And then for longevity, it scored 2 points. It did last all day, upwards of 8 or 9 hours, and I didn't feel like I had to retouch throughout the day. And it did not leave me with splotchiness or uneven coverage as I went about my normal routine. So overall, I think this is my favorite, and I really love it, and I can see myself using this and repurchasing it in the future. So those are the results of the BB cream comparison experiment. I'll be honest, I was surprised myself with the results. I did have higher hopes for the L'Oreal BB cream, and I wasn't expecting much from the Rimmel one because I really hadn't heard a whole lot about it prior to doing this experiment. I hope you enjoyed, and if you have any suggestions for future videos that you would like to see from me, feel free to leave them in the comments. I hope you have a lovely day, and I will see you all next time. Bye!